Hi guys, my name is Juliana Pan and this is my presentation over the Supreme Court case of Ferguson versus the City of Charleston. On my poster I've got it divided into the facts of the case, the constitutional question at hand, opinion of the court, and the dissent opinion. So this case arose in the 1980s. It was a case over drug testing policies within South Carolina. Due to an increase in substance abuse among pregnant mothers, most specifically for cocaine. The city worked alongside with law enforcement to be able to prosecute mothers who were testing positive, to ensure that they got the help they needed through substance abuse counseling or jail time for endangering the life of the child, their unborn fetus. In response to these arrests, the women arrested filed lawsuits fighting the policy under the claim that these drug tests passed as unconstitutional searches without consent and were in violation of the Fourth Amendment. The jury voted in favor of the city, acknowledging the policy as reasonable and constitutional. They and the dissent felt there were certain special needs which constituted for state interference and unwarranted searches. And that those special needs, along with this case, would be that of the quality of life for the child, which there were severe health hazards in being born to mothers who were using cocaine during their pregnancy. The Fourth Amendment of the Constitution gives the right for people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant should be issued but upon probable cause. So the women in this case were saying there was no probable cause for them to be drug tested, and furthermore for those drug tests to be sent over to police so they could be prosecuted. The women being prosecuted felt this right of theirs was being violated, and the drug tests were not within reasonable limits of the Constitution, which the jury found otherwise. This led to the constitutional question of whether a state hospital's performance of a diagnostic test to obtain evidence of a patient's criminal conduct for law enforcement purposes was an unreasonable search in violation of the Fourth Amendment if the patient has not consented to the procedure. A lot of the women being prosecuted were under the impression that they did not give their consent and that their urine was being tested unconsensually, and this was a right in violation of their Fourth Amendment. The opinion of the court argued these drug tests were conducted without the consent of the patient and further used to prosecute them by law enforcement, which was a violation of the Fourth Amendment. They constituted this as an act of an unreasonable search and seize, and furthermore violated the constitutional rights of the prosecuted women. Justice Scalia, with the dissenting opinion, argued there was no search as termed in the Constitution because the hospital did not take the urine from the woman without consent, and the analyzation of urine being considered as one of those effects which would be under the rights protected into the Constitution was not realistic. The jury found the answer to the constitutional question to be no, it was not in violation of the Fourth Amendment to have these women drug tested and for these drug tests to be mandatory and sent over to prosecution if the case needed to be, if they were testing positive. The opinion did their best in trying to preserve the right of these women by suggesting the mandated drug policies were unconstitutional and were not within reasonable limits of law enforcement. They deterred this through their best interpretation of the Constitution. The dissent dissected the meaning of the Fourth Amendment, questioning whether or not urine constituted as one of those effects belonging to a citizen to be prosecuted. Conditions of special needs were also considered as reasons of finding these drug tests constitutional as it pertains to the quality of life of the fetus, which the mothers were being negligent to, and that's primarily what their case was, that these mothers were being negligent in using drugs that could furthermore harm the fetus. So that is the presentation of my case. Thank you for listening, and have a great educational journey. Thank you.